I'm curious to know actually if there's any Chainsaw Man fans not happy about this. Like, this chapter by itself, I think, has gotten a lot of people hyped up and happy because the loss of Power was something that I think every single person in the Chainsaw Man fandom was torn up about. And now we have her back. We've got her with her own power, because that was one of the things that we hadn't seen from Power, of like, what's so special about the Blood Devil? Because I felt like the Blood Devil should be a little bit more tricky than most devils, because like, not everybody's afraid of blood, but when you have a species that, like, one of the ways they can kind of like get stronger and absorb power and replenish themselves is through blood, you figured that the literal manifestation of the fear of blood would have some extra perk to it, and it looks like there is. Essentially, she can live through her own blood. So because Denji drank some of Power's blood not too long ago, she, like, a part of her exists within his body. And I did like as well Pochita in this chapter, because it shows Pochita's existence is still like way more credible in terms of the consciousness of him. It's not like he is just kind of like a memory within Denji. He is almost like his own person, just like within the confines of Denji's being, of the Chainsaw Man. And maybe even he's more active because, you know, he's still in this state right now. But Pochita brings up, like, when he's like trying to talk to Power, like, Power, you gotta get up, you gotta go help Denji's in trouble. And he's just like, she's like, Power, so she doesn't want to. She's like, I'm asleep, I don't really want to, I kind of just want to lay here. But Pochita knows how to try and talk to her. He's like, you know, the way you are right now, you know, you could drink some of Denji's blood and become more powerful. It's like, don't you want to eat some of the chainsaw and get stronger? And, you know, all the stuff you'd expect to kind of like coax Power. But obviously, the big thing at the end was like, don't you want to save Denji? And she's like, yeah, because he's my friend. And then, you know, she bursts out of like Denji's body as like this stream of blood in this badass form. So I'm guessing that this is what the Blood Devil looks like originally. So it's curious to know if this is the original Blood Devil or this is just Power boosted up from consuming some of the chainsaw. Obviously the chainsaw being a big deal devil, and we know that absorbing power, you know, flesh and blood from higher level devils can increase, you know, the abilities of a devil as well. So either way, you know, the Power we saw like an imprint of like who she was from her blood. Okay, yeah, it makes sense why she would have her memories, because that was one of the things I was extremely curious about when it came to her character, because we know devils can't fully die unless the Chainsaw Man eats them, because if they die in hell, they just come to the human world. If they die in the human world, they go back to hell. It was just like, would she still contain her memories? But this makes sense. It's like it's almost like the blood that Denji ate was where Power was at that time. Like, that version of Power is what existed within him. And then she comes out with this badass new form. Like, I've expressed many times how much I enjoy Fujimoto's monster designs. I love his monster designs. They're so cool looking. And you see just like Power come back, and then just in this weird, like, she has almost like this cat-like design in terms of like her tail, and obviously like we know like Meowie and stuff, she's gonna have aspects of that, but then like it almost looks like that with like the weird claws in the legs, but at the same time being resembling like boots and gloves, and you have this like badass rib cage that kind of goes around like all these intestines around her neck. I think that's one of the reasons why it's like this is her boosted from the chainsaw, is she has the weird like intestine kind of like set up around her neck and chest, and that's obviously like one of the things about Denji with his scarf. I think it looks really cool, and especially also on top of her really cool weird animalistic kind of mask face thing going on, you have you also have her hair in a way more messy kind of style of like Power when we saw her as a little kid when she found Meowie. I like that a lot. I thought that was really cool. And then just seeing her go crazy here, she's like summoning blood, not just from her own abilities or from her own blood and like Denji's blood, but also she can create blood weapons inside other people's bodies. She's manipulating the blood of people around her, which is really cool and really busted. So Power just here in general was really fun to watch, and her trashing on Makima, talking shit at Makima was really cool too. But Makima's smart. That's one of the things, obviously, like the difference between Makima. Makima is extremely tactical. She knows how to talk to people. She knows how to manipulate them. And somebody like Power, who she's already worked out, knowing how to control her. This was in a dangerous spot for the character. And the thing is, though, Power regularly is already pretty crazy, but I think this Power is a higher level, because one thing we've seen about the chainsaw is when he's in his, when Denji goes into the initial chainsaw form, he retains his memories, but they're like crazy, psychotic, like adrenaline ran versions. Like they're always like overhyped up. If you remember back when Power talked about making a Nobel Prize, inventing something to win the Nobel Prize, and Denji was talking about that while he had his talking about making like a perpetual motion machine, or when they're like, hey, we need to figure out like better ways to use the chainsaw powers, and he, instead of like using it for like grabbing onto people and use it almost like a rope, he was like made it into a reins to ride beam. He has almost like literally like this crack induced hyped up version of whatever he was thinking or whatever he's trying to think of at that time. And Power, I think Power doing this, like the way that she's like putting up Denji to be like, yeah, take him, I think she's just trying to trick Makima, because it looked like when she showed up, Makima was genuinely surprised. I don't think Makima, or genuinely surprised. I keep the last like couple days I keep messing up saying genuinely and generally, but I think Makima was genuinely really surprised. I don't think she expected this at all, and I think that Power being a wild card here is a big move against Makima, and I think it's gonna really put Makima in a bad spot, because she is powerful, and we see like her going against like Denji and like going against Denji and now, but Power on top of it and this boosted power. The thing is, Power can eat these zombies, and she should be fine getting the regenning and fighting back. It really just depends down to this point of how she would get away from Makima. I'm hoping she manages to get one of the other like hybrids loose, and one of those guys can get away. Otherwise, like, who's gonna show up? Who's gonna show up and save Power? Because they have to get past Makima, and this could easily be a ruse. Like, she's like, oh yeah, I'll transform over. Your wish is my command. I captured him. She just wants all the hype and the glory. That's Power. We've known that about Power. But Power is also a known liar. So I see her tricking Makima, just because I think the big thing about Makima is she is extremely confident in her like ability to strategize and control others, that having something like a wild card of like a character like Power, who's before listened to everything she said, essentially her kind of breaking away from that, I think is what's going to really surprise Makima next chapter, and be like kind of the move to the first step in really fighting back against her. Is you have to fight back against control, and I think that'll be the first way that we can see Makima defeated in a way that's not actually just fully defeating her. Like, seeing somebody break away from her control is, I think will be a blow to her character in terms of her own ego and her own just kind of like plans here, to see like defeat in that sense, rather than just they defeat her and Denji eats her or something. I do really like this design for Power, though. It looks badass. She looks kind of like almost just like an hourglass Wendigo. She's got like the shapes, but then she's got all the monster parts. It just looks really cool. I really like Power. I think generally anybody who reads Chainsaw Man likes Power, so I think we're all happy to see her back. And with a new form like this especially, it's just always a plus. I think everybody's happy about that. But anyway, other than that, they'll comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about this. Like, where do you like rank her form in this? This is honestly one of my favorite forms in the series. I really want to see what other characters will look like boosted up with Denji's blood. Just get some like a fraction of the chainsaw's power. I still have hopes that it's going to turn out Aki is a hybrid and still alive, and maybe we can get that eventually too, but we'll see. Other than that, they'll comment below, thumbs up the video, but for the like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. Other than that, I appreciate everybody who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.